So we get to 2007, and like I said in the review for City of Evil, that when that came out, it was one of those albums directly responsible for old school metal starting to come back into mainstream culture again. We get to 2007, and we definitely see that happening. Iron Maiden put out an album a year before this with A Matter of Life and Death that was just phenomenal. You would have Megadeth put out a couple albums within those couple years. You would see new bands such as Evil, who is a thrash band from England, start to revive a little bit of that old school thrash sound. And Lamb of God even helped continue to further on the old school heavy metal approach with Sacrament. And so many other bands. Blood Mountain by Mastodon was another album that definitely showcased the old prog metal vibes. But we get to the White Album by Avenged Sevenfold, and this album is a continuance of the success of City of Evil, but they decide to change a little bit and kind of try their best to write different style songs within their own sound. You would have songs that keep that classic Avenged Sevenfold sound with songs such as Critical Acclaim and Afterlife and songs like that, and even song Unbound the Wild Ride, Lost, are those kinds of tracks that keep the core sound of Avenged Sevenfold that you heard on City of Evil going. But then you would hear different styles of tracks on songs such as Scream and Almost Easy, where they have an aggressive edge, but with certain parts that have different vibes to it. And songs such as Gunslinger and Dear God showcasing a little bit of a country music side to their sound. And even on songs such as Brompton Cocktail, where they would showcase some different instruments, like different drums and orchestras, again, once again involved, even on the song Afterlife, which was the biggest hit of this album, and definitely the best song of the album, if you ask me, because it's one of those songs that kept the sound of City of Evil alive, but with a more epic quality to it, where this song definitely you can compare to any epic Iron Maiden track. And all songs such as A Little Piece of Heaven, where it was like an avant-garde metal song that incorporated some progression as well as some Broadway kind of theatrical sound. And this song is very powerful because of just the lyrical concept behind it, where it's about man and wife who are dating, and then the man proposes, and the woman laughs at him, and the man gets pissed off, kills her, she comes back and kills him, and then they have a wedding made in hell, and all that stuff. If you watch the music video to this song, it's very, very crazy, and it's so fitting for this song. But with a track like this showcasing an avant-garde experimental metal vibe to them, it definitely shows that Avenged Sevenfold is continuing to expand their musical horizons. But there were certain moments on this album where you felt they were kind of being a bit kind of repetitious in a sense, with some of the older ideas kind of keeping on going with their older sounds of City of Evil or even Waking the Fallen to some degree. But when this album came out, it was definitely kind of like a crisis for a lot of fans, because they kind of moved away from their very fast-paced speed metal sound of City of Evil into a more kind of experimental album, which, evolution is always key for bands. While this album is not a bad album, it's actually a good album, a pretty good album, it just didn't capture that same feeling that you would get on City of Evil. While I enjoy this album top to bottom, no doubt, it just didn't have that same magic you would get on the previous two albums. But overall with this album, it's a good album, but it did kind of set the band back a little bit. Just a tiny, tiny bit in terms of how certain fans would react to certain parts of this album, like Gunslinger and Dear God having the country music vibe. Some people thought that was kind of weird. But I thought they both sounded good for what they were trying to attempt. But then again, it didn't have as much success, in my opinion, as City of Evil, but it was still a good album. But I would say this album is probably if I were to rank it of the 6 albums, this would probably be number 4 currently. But anyways, after this album, they would experience tragedy. So it would have to force the band to wait 3 years for anything to come out. So coming up next, we're going to talk about Nightmare. Stay tuned.